Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Cleverboy Gaming. I'm your host, Cleverboy, and boy, am I glad to be here. Now, admittedly, this is our first episode, and honestly, I have nothing written down. But as you can see in the topic today, our main discussion is going to be that Nintendo Direct. Man, wasn't that amazing? Now, admittedly, I, from birth, have always been a PlayStation fan, but I must admit, recently, with the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo has won me over again. And today I want to talk about what I saw in that direct and what I liked, some of the main topics. I don't have anything written down, like I said, but there are a few big points that I want to get to. So when the direct came, I actually was waiting for it all day. If anyone doesn't remember, it actually dropped, what was that, Thursday past week at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which was really a different time. It's usually very early. I would say maybe around before noon even. But this time they switched it up. I don't know why, but I can't say that I didn't enjoy it. Now, everyone was speculating before that Nintendo Direct dropped of a few different things, mainly the Nintendo Switch Online service being upgraded. I myself was eager to find out what system was going to come to the Nintendo Switch. A lot of people were speculating on Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advanced. Me, I was actually looking forward to the N64, but I have to admit that some of those Game Boy games are just too classic. Too classic. I mean, we're talking about Pokemon games, we're talking about Disney games, we're talking about Metroid games. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But the first game that popped up to me was Kirby. To all our Kirby fans out there, I mean, Kirby, wow, it's such an underrated franchise, I believe, for Nintendo. And honestly, Kirby could be one of the very first games I've ever played. My my uncle, rest in peace, he actually put me on. I remember in the 90s and early 2000s, he actually had a Super Nintendo in his room. We all lived in the same house. And he had children, my cousins, and when they would come over on the weekends, we would actually play Kirby Superstars. That game came out on the Super Nintendo in 1996. And was it a dream? I mean, such a great game. And to be honest with you, that was probably the first and one of the only Nintendo games that I actually played. And I loved it. I mean, so many levels. It it felt more like a compilation, like a Mario Superstars, and it was some of the greatest times I've ever had playing video games. So in this Nintendo Direct, they actually showcased for the first time a new 3D Kirby game, Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Now, when I first saw the trailers, I thought it was going to be something completely different. It seemed to be like an abandoned island, like a lost theme. And I did not expect to see Kirby washed up on the island, to be honest with you. But when I did, I was pleasantly surprised. The gameplay looked very interesting. Obviously, it's the same Kirby dynamics, flying, inhaling monsters. Kirby's such a badass. The only difference is it was in a 3D open world. It seemed semi-open. There was a lot of stuff in the background, but man, it looked great. And to see Kirby in 3D back in action, how can you be upset about that? How can you really be upset about that? It has such a great cast of characters. Some of those evil monsters that you know uh, make an appearance in Kirby series. the swordsman, the Iceman. It's so interesting. And I want to just shed some light on that because the last Kirby game that I played for Nintendo Switch was Kirby and his Star Allies, I believe. In the comment section, let me know if I'm wrong on anything. That game, I was super excited for that game. And honestly, I can't say that I was disappointed because it was a cool game, but it really didn't have that same magic that Superstars did. The original Kirby 96 game that I played for the first time. And the reason was, I believe, because of the difficulty. I like hard games. And that's something that I've gotten into recently, mainly because I just have this weird feeling of not wanting the game to end. We'll talk about that in another episode. But really, it's something that I am very strong-headed on these days. I put my games on the hardest difficulty, and that game felt more like a nursery rhyme. So this game, I'm very excited to see how they maneuvered through that level of difficulty because the original Kirby games were no joke. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. The man is a pink ball, but there's nothing soft about him. Really. That's a tough guy. So I was super excited to see that there's going to be a new 3D Kirby game. I believe that they said it's coming out in spring 2022. So I look forward to seeing some new information as the months go on. Now, after the Kirby, it kind of got into a lull effect. There weren't too many things that I was super excited about. So in the comment section, I'll leave some information down about different games that I saw. And I'm just going to jump right to the main topic of the video, which is the new expansion for the Nintendo Switch Online service. Now, like I said, most people thought that it was going to be a Game Boy. I saw online. I watched tons of video game YouTubers, and everyone thought it was going to be either Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, and the N64. And again, I love the N64. I mean, I've never owned one. As I said before, I was a Sony boy. My first system ever was a Sony PlayStation, and I loved it. But something about that N64, I mean, growing up, my cousins, I used to look up to them so much, and they themselves were into N64. We had an N64 in the household before I had a PlayStation. And when Nintendo announced their new expansion pack for the N64 and Sega Genesis, yes, the new expansion pack for the online service will be an N64 and a Sega Genesis. Admittedly, I was dumbfounded. I mean, I kind of knew, but just to see that screen switch to Zelda, Ocarina of Time, I said, yes, it is time. I mean, what is there not to love about the N64? Just something about it, the way it just brought 3D to the platforms before anyone else did, and the way they opened up with Mario, I mean, really, genius. But I want to say, my main focus for the N64, just like many of us, is probably to revisit some of those Zelda games on a original Nintendo platform. Now, I hadn't had a Nintendo platform since GameCube. And when I got the Switch, I was uh, without any other system at the time. I didn't have my PS4. I didn't have my I didn't have my PS4. I sold that. I didn't have anything else. I didn't have an Xbox. Never really liked Xbox. Never owned one. And I said, wow, this portable system could come in handy. And of course, the first game I bought was Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, if you haven't played that game, please play it. But what I always wondered was, where are the old games? Where are the nostalgia-ridden games that Nintendo can offer us on this platform, this unique portable platform? Now, we did have the SNES and the NES, and yes, I told you one of my favorite gaming memories was playing SNES and that Kirby All-Stars game, the Superstars game that they had, which again, classic. But again, I told you my first system was of a 3D platform, and I have to admit, those 2D games are very hard, very, very difficult to the point where I know I like difficult games, but those are almost impossible. So I always really wanted to see what Nintendo can bring to the platform besides those classic 2D video games from SNES and NES. And again, like I said, Zelda, 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 Zelda. Breath of the Wild was such an amazing game, but to see that we're going to be able to go back to some of those N64 original classics, they showcased a few of the first games that are going to come. And of course, off the top of my head, we had things like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Mario, Kart 64, Mario 64, Star Fox 64, and a couple of other games that I do not remember. Anything I left out, please leave in the comment section again. I am going off the top of my head. Now back to the expansion pack. They did say that this is going to be something that's going to cost an additional amount. They hadn't gotten into what that amount would be. I actually can't say that I care much because $20 a month originally felt like a steal. Now, I'm guessing with this amount of back catalog, quality of games, I'm assuming that we might see a $10 push, could be even 15. I'm afraid that if they go to 15, they're just going to jump to 40 because, let's be honest, this is a Nintendo and they do what they want. But ultimately, I'm super excited about this. I don't know about anybody else, but the Nintendo Switch's portable capability is just amazing. And I admittedly never defeated Zelda Ocarina of Time. I was just one of those guys who just loved running around as a kid, as an adult, in these different outfits. And I just loved it. Just the setting of it all was just so amazing. And we were always wondering, what were they going to do for us for Zelda's 35th anniversary? They never really gave us anything besides Skyward Sword. So I knew that they were going to showcase some Zelda work somehow. And perhaps this is why they didn't come up with the compilation that everyone expected, because they knew that they were going to give us this online expansion. Because honestly, Super Mario 64 on N64 expansion doesn't mean much because I actually purchased the compilation that they came out with a few months back, if not last year. Again, my memory doesn't jog that far. But I did purchase it, and I actually have 2 copies. So I made sure I was going to get those classics, mainly because of Mario Sunshine, to be honest. And I was waiting for some Zelda, and it never came. And here we are in this expansion pack. Now, they did add an additional treat for us when it comes to this expansion pack. And this is something that was also speculated. And honestly, I don't have any I'm not a detective yet when it comes to gaming, so I just get my information from other people. And a lot of people were talking about the controller trademark patents that they had that Nintendo filed. And many people speculated again that this had to be an N64 patent because, well, you wouldn't need a Game Boy controller. I don't know what that would look like, even though that would be awesome. And they revealed it. They revealed a brand new N64 wireless controller compatible for the Nintendo Switch. It is gray. I wish it was one of those clear Jolly Rancher purple looking ones. Man, those are such swaggy controllers. But the gray one is really nice. And I'm interested to see what that controller feels like in 2021. Excuse me. In 2021. Because, in the past, those controllers were so unique and just so loud. When you saw it, you were like, what? These three prongs? What is this? And something about that analog stick just always just felt underdeveloped. I really enjoyed the Z button, but besides that, the controller did need some work. But I must say, one thing I did love about that controller was the ability to do the music notes on the C pad, which were buttons at that time. I just thought that was just so revolutionary, especially when you would sing on the flute. I mean, I think that was the only reason why you would use it. Honestly, let's be honest, the only reason we used those controllers were for two games, Mario 64 and Zelda Ocarina of Time. Let me actually take that back. GoldenEye was one hell of a game. Now, it's interesting to see because a lot of people are going crazy about this whole Rare company involvement in this with Banjo-Kazooie. I'll admit, I never played Banjo-Kazooie. Again, like I said, I was a PlayStation guy, so I only had a few levels of nostalgia for the 64. I didn't see any wrestling games. Some of the greatest wrestling games belong to the N64 till this day. WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy, man, if they came to the N64 Online Expansion Pack service for the Switch, wow. They did also mention that we have some online capabilities. Mario Kart 64, playing online and local with your friends would be classic. Back in the day, we called it Gangster Kart. I mean, I grew up in Queens, Jamaica, Queens to be exact, and we lived a whole different type of life when it came to Mario Kart. Again, I was a child, but I was living vicariously through the people I looked up to. And when everyone was playing that Mario Kart 64, that gangster kart, you had to beware the gangster peels. Those banana peels are so underrated. I would love to see how that translates into an online match in 2021. Now, again, they did add the Sega Genesis, which is another system that I have some nostalgia for, mainly because of Sonic. I loved some Sonic games. So they did have Sonic 2, they did have Streets of Rage 2. They did have a lot of good games on that Sega side. Now, I did not expect Sega. Sega. I actually love this because what this means, and bear with me here, this is all speculation. If we can get a Sega Dreamcast on the Nintendo Switch, wow. I mean, I jumped from the PlayStation to a Sega Dreamcast, and I must admit, I loved every second of it. Now, I have to go back in time. I'm taking things from my mind here. This is all off the top. But if I remember straight, Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast is one of the greatest 3D platforming games of all time. Now, I'm not saying it's a Mario 64, but come on, man. Let's be honest. That Sonic Adventure, when I saw that trailer for the whales, that whale that was just destroying the bridge as Sonic ran across it, I was like, what is happening? But I digress. Please, if you're listening, Sega, give it to us. Give us all, okay? We need it. Just merge completely with Nintendo. Become one. Sega Nintendo. So we can get that Sega Dreamcast, man. And again, they did add the controller for Sega Genesis, a 3-button Sega Genesis controller, which is such a nice novelty to have. I personally, again, never had a Sega Genesis, nor had I ever had a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64. But the Nintendo Switch has converted me strongly. I mean, this system has done wonders for me, and I look forward to seeing what else they give us. This Metroid Dread that's coming up is another thing that I've never jumped into, but I'm super excited. How can you not be excited about anything on the Switch? I mean, really, it's a portable system. Nintendo has such good quality video games. I would say first party video games, especially. Actually, they may have some of the best. Now, to continue, besides the expansion packs, they did let us know that they aren't going to tell us the pricing just yet, but we are looking forward to later this in October. I believe they said they're going to discuss the pricing, and it will be dropping towards the end of October. Now, besides that, they did have a few different things that I just want to touch on. They did mention some Metroid Dread, that recent trailer with the narrator voice, that woman that sounds like she's from Aliens. That was really good. I really did get pushed closer and closer to just wanting to play that game. I wish that they did give us some Game Boy games so that maybe we can get some of those great Metroid games that I never played for the Game Boy Advance, DS even. But with this expansion pack, it's just, I mean, Sega, we can actually look forward to possibly getting Dreamcast again. I mean, who would have thought? It's wonderful. Now, yes, we might have to wait another 4 years, but me, I am willing to. Now, towards the end, they did go on a tangent and speak about that new Mario game, excuse me, that new Mario movie that's coming out. And they actually gave us the cast to expect. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. I personally enjoy Mr. Pratt, Chris Pratt, I believe that's his name. I like him from Star-Lord. He plays Star-Lord on the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think that's awesome. I mean, actors can change their voice. Now, Anna Joy, I am a recent fan of hers. She's going to be playing Princess Peach. Again, if I'm mistaking anyone's name, this is off the top. Leave any comments in the comment section letting me know how terrible I am for my first time. But she'll be playing Peach. And there are a couple of actors that I'm going to list that are going to be playing the rest of the characters in the comment section. And overall, I thought that they were awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. I love the fact that it's going to actually be a animated film as opposed to a live action film. We all know how that went. And again, I actually thought that wasn't too bad. But yeah, Mario, let's see. And they also announced that the next Smash character, the next and final Smash character, will be revealed in a separate direct I believe, later on in October. I'm super excited about that. I can't say that I actually play Smash that much, but when I do, I enjoy it. And I'm curious to see who that last character is going to be. I I'm just gonna say it first. It could be a double pack. I mean, why not? If this is gonna be the last pack, give us two. Give us two people. And make sure it's awesome. People say it might be Sora. People say it could be Master Chief. I would love for it to be Wolverine. I mean, that's just off the top. Wolverine is such an awesome character to control. Maybe Captain America, maybe Spider-Man. Hey, let's shoot for the stars. And they also ended the direct with a trailer for Bayonetta 3. Now, Bayonetta is another game I haven't played. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, "Well, have you played anything?" Yes. And yes, I will get to those video games in further episodes. But Bayonetta 3 is coming soon. Everyone was worried about it. I haven't played one or two. I'm interested in playing it after seeing that trailer and gameplay. Let's be honest, we know where that game came from. Devils May Cry, and I am a Devils May Cry fanatic. And so I don't think I'm necessarily missing much. Bayonetta seems like a female Dante, and I love it. So yes, I will be getting into the Bayonetta series as I will be getting into the Metroid series and preparing for this next quarter for Nintendo. Now, I'd like to thank you all for being here for the first episode. I promise the next few episodes will be way more organized and we'll have some interesting topics. I'm interested to see how this goes for me. I've never been in front of the camera in such a way. Hello. And I would like to see what you guys think. Give me feedback, maybe things you want to hear, and I'll continue to share my stories and my adventures through gaming. Thank you for watching the first episode of Cleverboy Gaming. I'm your host, Cleverboy, and I hope to see you soon.